You've heard artificial sweeteners trick your body into releasing insulin, which causes terrible things such as insulin resistance, diabetes, weight gain, and some cancers. My God, what? You can't be blamed for wanting to avoid things such as diet soda. Damn right. In today's video, we'll bring you the research that shows these claims are pretty much untrue, and in fact, artificial sweeteners are generally safe to consume and may help with some of your fat loss goals. Ooh. Also known as non-nutritive sweeteners, these come in many forms such as aspartame, sucralose, saccharin, xylitol, mannitol, and sorbitol. These are found in various products that you might be consuming every day. Everything from diet sodas, sugar-free chewing gum, protein bars, sugar-free energy drinks, instant oatmeal packets, some vegan products, and toothpastes and mouthwash. All of these products contain one or more artificial sweeteners. But do artificial sweeteners pose a health risk to you? Coming up, we'll uncover the effects of artificial sweeteners on insulin resistance and risk of diabetes, weight gain, and increased cancer risk. Okay, so what does the research tell us about consuming artificial sweeteners and your risk of gaining body fat? Both Brown et al. And Toes et al. Published review articles and a systematic review on artificial sweeteners and weight gain. In young children and obese adults, both authors concluded that there was no link between the consumption of artificial sweeteners and any weight gain at varying levels of artificial sweetener intake. However, both authors did conclude that more research over the longer period was needed in this area. If we think about it logically, products like diet sodas don't actually contain any calories. So if you're normally consuming the full sugar version of Coke and you swap for the diet version with no calories, this may actually aid with fat loss because you're going to be reducing the calorie content of your diet. If you were drinking 2 of these every day, 7 days a week, 2 of these around about 277 calories, or around 1939 calories per week, and contains sugars which your body will either oxidize, burn as fuel, or if your muscles are already full because you're overeating calories every day, will then go to be stored as fat. Switching from full fat to diet in this situation just removes those calories, and this leads us on to insulin resistance and risk of diabetes, which is something Bernardo et al., Lona et al., and Nickel et al. Have all covered over the years in various systematic reviews and meta-analyses. What did the authors find? Do artificial sweeteners cause insulin resistance and aid in diabetes? Well, no. In fact, the authors of those papers all concluded that artificial sweeteners have no association with increased risk of insulin resistance or diabetes. And this makes sense because artificial sweeteners are not processed in the body the same way as other sugars like glucose and fructose, and therefore will not cause the same insulin response that you get from eating things like carbohydrates. In short, we have a number of receptors in the body that sense when sugars enter the system. And these receptors activate signaling pathways that ultimately lead to the release of insulin. In the research, it's still yet to be proven if artificial sweeteners can activate these same pathways. And lastly, what about cancer risk? How do artificial sweeteners increase or decrease the risk of certain cancers? This was an area that's been assessed by Bernardo et al., Malkarjun et al., and Topler et al., with all 3 research groups concluding that artificial sweeteners do not in fact increase the risk of certain cancers. So, as with most things, if you're mega dosing something, that might potentially lead to some bad things. Drink enough water in a short space of time, and that could kill you. So, same thing with artificial sweeteners. Now, if you are drinking 7, 8, 9, 10 litres of artificial sweetener a day, probably going to lead to some health risks. So don't be an idiot and drink that much. But typically, you're only going to be drinking 1, 2, or 3 diet sodas per day maximum. And at those doses, really, the levels of artificial sweetener you're getting from those are pretty low. Chances of that leading to increased cancer risk when we consider all the other factors in life that lead to increased cancer risk. Probably the artificial sweeteners is not the main one you should be concerned about. Okay, so there you have it. Yes, more research is certainly needed on artificial sweeteners and their impact on certain health outcomes, but currently the research supports the safe consumption of artificial sweeteners and no kind of increased risk in things like fat gain, weight gain, insulin resistance or diabetes, and various cancers. And in fact, consuming products like diet soda, if you are consuming regular soda, may aid some of your fat loss goals by reducing the calorie content of your daily diets. So it may in fact be something to consider swapping in if you're not already doing that. But that's all from me. So for now, goodbye, and I'll see you next video.